Nelson Anito. Hey Chris, thanks for answering my question a few weeks back. Got another one for you. I saw Battlefield Earth a few weeks ago on Netflix, and it was so rancid that I had to spread out my viewing in 10 to 15 minutes increments over a few days. I read a book reviewer around that time who pointed out a plot element in the story that may reflect Hubbard's view of his followers. The main alien villain, Turl, wants to become rich by mining a gold mine in the Rocky Mountains. I think in the movie it was Fort Knox. Turl recruits the human Johnny Goodboy Tyler to get the gold for him and uses a learning machine or advanced tech to increase Johnny's intelligence so Johnny can be more able to get the gold. I've always thought this was Hubbard's secret message of what he was doing with Scientology, and he left it in plain sight. Has anyone else thought of this before, or have you realized it yourself? I'm amazed it hasn't been talked about more, even though it was in Scientology's one major foray into Hollywood with John Travolta in the starring role. Ugh, Battlefield Earth. Oh my God. Worst movie ever. And not a great book. Okay, my answer to your question is no. I do not believe for an instant that L. Ron Hubbard was leaving a message in plain sight about him knowingly conning his members, or that he knew that that's what he was doing and he was just admitting that to the world. And the reason, there are many reasons I don't think that that's how things are. I've written about it in my book. I have made videos and talked about this, and probably this, if you want one place which would answer the question of why I don't think that, it would be a podcast I did this last year with Yuval Leor about L. Ron Hubbard suffering from temporal lobe epilepsy. It is a theory that Yuval put forward that I absolutely think is valid, and I think Hubbard did suffer from that medical condition, and I think that he absolutely believed in what he was pushing. Now here's the complexity to Hubbard though. And I said this in my book, and I've said this other places. He was a con man, and he knew that too. It's not black and white with Hubbard. He was a complex individual, as most of us are. And he had all kinds of motivations and reasons for his behavior. He did lie through his teeth. He was a pathological liar. But he was also a person who believed. I think he told so many lies that he started to believe them himself, especially as he advanced in age. I think when he was younger, he knew he was kind of full of shit, and he was just telling stories because it got him popular and it made him, in with the ladies and that sort of thing, and it got him by in a number of situations. And so he had this condition. Then then TLE comes along, right? Because it wasn't like he was born with that, and that created a religious fervor within him where he truly believed that he had an insight into mankind and how people think and operate, that he was convinced was a bigger revelation than what's in the Bible. And he wrote this book, Excalibur, and then that became eventually mutated into Dianetics, and then that evolved into Scientology. And Hubbard was a con man extraordinaire. He was horrible with money. He ripped people off left, right, and center. He was a unapologetic lady, person. I mean, he just he was married to two women at the same time. I mean, this guy had lots and lots of problems. So that's why I say he's a very complex person, and his motivations were complex. But when it comes to what he was doing with Scientology, right? He really did believe in what he was doing, and he really did have this idea that he was helping people. As crazy as some of his ethics and the justice and the disconnection and the abuses and stuff that he engaged in, and they were unforgivable and they were awful. Yet at the same time, he had this inner core belief that what he was doing was really salvaging mankind, and he really believed in all the space stuff and everything else. Right? There's just no way he could have lived the life that he lived if he didn't believe it, right? He was not just pulling everyone's chain and laughing to the bank the whole time. It was more than that. So, and eventually, of course, he descended into utter madness, and he died, a really alone, afraid, and crazy person in the 80s. So So that's kind of a real fast take on L. Ron Hubbard and why I believe that's not what was a hidden message embedded in Battlefield Earth. I think it's just coincidence or somebody looking at that and going, oh, well, that fits to my view of how L. Ron Hubbard is, and so therefore it looks like it. Hubbard probably knew about it too. No, I don't subscribe to that particular idea.